Hi, friends. It is pretty damn warm today. It says 70 something on my device, but it feels warmer than that. And then tomorrow is supposed to be like in the 90s, but they say there's going to be like a thunderstorm and maybe it'll cool off after that. We'll see. Sometimes they're not right about these things. You know how it is. Listen, do you want to know what really makes you stand apart, stand up from everybody else that's out here in this world that we all live in, right? Hear me out. In case you don't know the answer, I'm here to tell you that. Is that at some point in your life you realized somehow you got smart, you got your aha moment, and you realized that you're much better off by being yourself than being a part of this pretending and acting game that everybody else likes to play. And people seem to be okay with it. And that's fine, more power to them. But I'm here to tell you that there's nothing wrong with the choice you made. And that's the reason why you stand out. Because you chose to be what other people would classify or label as different. And it's okay to be different. That's your superpower. Have you ever watched those videos of sometimes, people shepherding a bunch of sheep out in a wild in a farm somewhere, and then there's one sheep among, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 sheep that decides to do its own thing. That's the best way to describe it. That's the best way to make an example. That's the type of person you are. You chose yourself. You understand the value and the importance of critical thinking, questioning things, not only things outside of you, but also things within you. That curiosity that you always had since you were a kid, that's the thing that made you be and get where you are today. That's the beauty of curiosity, that aspect of it, because it can be so liberating, so empowering. It can make you feel so free about yourself. And this is not, I'm not making this up. This is very real. But you'd have to experience these things to know what I'm talking about. And I'm not saying these things to claim that I'm better than anyone, because far from that. We're all the same here. We're all equal. I've said this many times before. We're all equal here. But we all have our own path to walk. Some of us choose the path we want to walk on. And by all means, that's not an easy thing to do, because there's a cost that comes associated with these things. And then there is the majority. When I talk about these things, I always like to give the disclaimer that I'm generally speaking here. Not everybody is part of that group, but the majority is, the whole, as I usually talk about these things. And the reality is that most people seem to be okay with where they are. They are fine with how they are and where they are. And 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 that's the beauty of life. We have the free will, right? We're free to choose how we live our lives. Most people choose to just be like everybody else because he gives them this sense of belonging and being a part of something. But there are those of us that understand that none of that stuff is real. We all know that's all manufactured. We all know that's all by design. A design that wasn't created with your best interest in mind. On the very contrary. There's a whole game behind the scenes here being played that most people don't realize and don't understand. But the world has been this way for thousands of years. So people got used to it. You know, it only takes a generation or two to make it so that people don't question anything anymore and they just take it all in and accept it as facts, realities, truth, and all these things. I've said this before in the past in some of my videos that the victors are those who write the history books, right? Those who win. The losers don't have a say in it. So there's a lot of things about mankind's history that we don't quite yet know or fully understand because a lot of the things that we know about that we've been told that's been written in history books and all of these things, it's all lies, manipulation, deceit, and all that stuff. And yeah, there's truth here and there, but when you don't get the full picture of anything, that will always create confusion. But most importantly, that will create division, segregation, and things of that nature. But you somehow, for some reason, if you're listening to this, you've chosen to be different. And what do I mean by that? Well, you understand that you don't want to be playing these games that everybody's playing. You just want to be yourself. You understand your own value. You understand how much it matters for you on a personal level to just be yourself without wearing a mask, without pretending to be something that you are not, without, being this created persona that took a good chunk of your life to be manufactured and made. And look, we all been there. We all go through these things. We all experience this stuff because everybody is a part of this whole thing. The systems and constructs that were created by cultures and societies throughout the ages, they've been around for a long time. So I get it. I know it can be hard for some people to realize and understand these things. I know that, for some, they probably are not listening to this or they probably stop listening because they are thinking that I'm crazy or whatever. And that's okay. You have the right to do these things. That's fine. But the people who choose to be themselves, the people who choose to be what, society deems different, black sheep, all of these things, all of these labels and classifications that exist out there, right? Those are the trailblazers. Those are the people who always make an impact, make a difference. Wherever they go, wherever they are. The people you encounter throughout your life, for however amount of time, and then, for some reason, life is always in motion, right? And we always choose to go with the flow of it. The ones of us who got smart over time, we figure these things out. We know that it's always much better to go with the flow than fight and resist or swim against the current. That's not a very smart thing to do. It never ends up working very well. And you figure these things out after you go through your trial and errors in your life. That's how it works. This is not something that somebody tells you. Yeah, someone may tell you, but you're not going to know what it's like until you actually go through it yourself. And then you realize, oh, you know what? That's why. Because you end up, understanding and figuring it out that just let it flow, man. Let it flow. Ladies and gents, let it flow. That's all you got to do. And that doesn't mean not do anything. That's not mean being passive. It means understanding that when things are going a certain way and certain things are happening, that perhaps that's the way it is meant to go. That's the way it is supposed to be. So just let it happen that way. Now, like I said, there's nothing wrong with being different. But you just have to understand that when we choose to do these things and we choose to be this way, a lot of people are going to see you differently. A lot of people are going to judge you. You're not going to please everyone. A lot of people are not going to like you. But you didn't come here to be liked. That's what you have to understand. Stop worrying about these things. Stop torturing yourself over stuff like this, because a lot of people do these things. A lot of people, sometimes they choose to be themselves. They choose to be themselves. They choose to do these things, right? And then they struggle because they see that, they see the way that some people around them are reacting or whatever, getting triggered, all these things, right? I'm just here to remind you that the people who are the people who are meant to be a part of your life, let me say that again, the people who are meant to be a part of your life, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to force. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to please. You don't have to chase. They're going to be there for you. And if they're not there for you, then they were not meant to be there for you. So there's no reason for you to suffer over these things. A lot of this suffering and pain that we usually go through throughout our lives, we created it ourselves through our actions, through our decisions. So another important aspect of life is that we learn how to be responsible for our own actions. And we accept that. And we live with that. Without regret, without remorse, without overthinking and overcomplicating things. That's just the way life works, my friends. It's really not that hard. It's just that so many of us have this need or feel this need to be seen, to be liked, and all these things. And then when we live our lives this way, we hurt ourselves so much in the process. It's not even funny. I can't even begin to explain the harm that these things will do to us. Because this kind of stuff, you'd have to live through it to really know and understand. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to what I'm talking about here, because you know. And if you don't, and you're still doing these things, you will. Give it time, you will, especially if you're still young. Because certain types of lessons and certain kinds of wisdom that we gain through life, it only happens after we go through certain things and after a certain amount of time has gone by. That's the other thing. And this is why I always say that it's important that we have friends and real friends. You know, people who are always going to be there for you no matter what. I know that's a hard concept to swallow because most people don't even know what that is these days because of the whole connection problem, right? People were resourcing to platforms like this and places like this and social media and things to try and figure out how to live their lives and what kind of person they have to be and this and that. And I told you this many times, and I'm going to say it again. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. That's not my job. Never has been, never will be. That is your job and your job alone. You're the one in control of things. You're the one that makes the decision-making process. And you're the ones who live the resultant, consequences, if you could call them that, of the decision-making process that you do in your life. You can put that kind of stuff on, you can try to project that onto others all you want. But the reality is that most of the time, if not all of the time, everything is a result of the things that you do to yourself. Not things that others do to you. And a lot of the times the things that others do to you are because of the things that you've done to yourself. That's the other thing you have to realize. So don't feel guilty if you chose to be different. You should actually be proud of that and understand that that requires a lot of strength, a lot of courage, a lot of self-respect and self-love, a lot of resilience, a lot of determination. It's not for everyone. There's a reason why not all of us are here to walk certain paths, right? Not everybody that came down here to evolve. It's an unfortunate truth, but it's a fact. There are many who came here just to watch others evolve so they can see and have some sort of idea of what that looks like and what that feels like. Chances are those are the people that are no longer a part of your life. But make no mistake about it, just because they're not part of your life doesn't mean they forgot who you are. Matter of fact, they're probably going to remember you for the rest of their lives. But they're going to keep that to themselves. They're not going to tell the whole world about it. Most of the time, anyway. That's the type of impact that you make in this world. That's the difference that you make. That's the difference that people like you are here to make. There are those of us who came here to break the mold, my friends. It's just the way it is. Is it always pleasant? By all means, no. But I wouldn't have it any other way. That's how I feel about it. And I think this video is long enough at this point. So that's why you stand out. And that's why, not everybody's going to like you. And the sooner you make peace with that, the better off you will be in the long run. Don't worry about that. You're fine just as you are. If this is the path you've chosen for yourself, you're going to be okay. And you know that deep down inside. You don't need me or anybody else out here to tell you these things. You already know. So take that to heart. All right? Now, if you like the channel, if you like the message, don't forget to click the like button, share, subscribe, and I will catch you all on the next one. Take care, my friends. Until next time.